Hello, this is Peter Levesque, and I am here in Harrison Hot Springs, British Columbia. It is May 16th, 2008. We're on a break from before we head to dinner after a long day of discussions. I can't talk about the specifics of this conversation because we're following the Chatham House Rule, which is the doors closed, people are free to speak their mind, and we don't attribute what we've heard to any one person or to any organization, in the hope that we are going to be as open and honest as possible, and I respect that, and I feel privileged to participate in it because it reveals a lot about the state of knowledge mobilization in a variety of sectors, a variety of organizations, a variety of institutions. So I have a few ideas as to why I'm feeling, I don't think overwhelmed is the word. I'm feeling a little bit annoyed, I'm feeling a little bit uneasy, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that is that I'm being pushed, or that I'm seeing the state of where people actually are with regards to knowledge mobilization. Knowledge mobilization isn't new. This is not a creation that came out of my experience when I was at SSHRC as Deputy Director of Knowledge Products and Mobilization starting in 2003. It's not something that was created by any institution in particular, although the terminology really comes out of the social sciences. But knowledge mobilization, in my opinion, is fundamentally about value. I said yesterday that it's a contact sport, but fundamentally we engage in knowledge mobilization to do things. And fundamentally it's about doing things in our locations, hoping that we're going to have better outcomes by including evidence in our decision making, in our practices. And there's a lot of debate as to whether that's actually true or not. And that's fine. I mean, I think the debate is actually really important, but given that it's a contact sport, I think that we actually have to have more discussion about what are the things that are being done and what are we learning about those things, those practices, those engagements. Some of the things that I've heard relate to quality. What is the spectrum of quality, the spectrum of credibility, the spectrum of certainty? What are the human factors that are crucial? What are the risk factors, and how do we manage risk? How do we identify biases and tendencies? How do we engage in change? One of the things that occurs to me is that knowledge mobilization in many ways is political. Not just in the partisan context, but fundamentally that the politics of people engaging in how do we live together in this place in relationship to people who live in other places and may or may not share our same perspectives, our same values, our same goals. Some of my studies in population health talked about dose and frequency and vectors. And I think that that is equally applicable to programs of knowledge mobilization. What is the dose, what is the frequency, and what are the vectors or the channels in which we come about? There's a lot of talk about infrastructure, and in my presentations on research I said that, you've heard me say before that research is three questions: what, so what, and now what. And getting to now what is actually how you create value. And in order to be able to do that, we need incentives for behavior, we need infrastructure to support that behavior, we need innovation, we need initiatives, we need them not only at an individual level, but at an organizational level, at a societal level, and also at a conceptual level in terms of how are we in the world, what is our state of being, what is our questioning collectively. And I'm reminded that the unit of knowledge mobilization is not necessarily the single study or the single case or the single anecdote, but rather their collection and relationship to one another. Which gets back to that concept of relationship, of how do we relate to one another? What are our interactions? How are we manifesting our desires, our goals, our power, our desires? And so it gets back to part of what I said yesterday, is that how do we participate in this complex emergent process? There are so many questions that are rolling around in my head, and they're not all clear, and I think that sometimes a lack of clarity is a good thing. It's troubling, and I feel somewhat troubled by all the discussion that I heard today. And I'm not sure that there's an interoperability for all of these, for all perspectives to work together, and that's actually not bad. I think that diversity is important. Diverse approaches, diverse perspectives, diverse methodologies are important. I'm reminded of studies in biology that say that biological systems require diversity to be resilient to shocks within a system. And so I think that if there is a diversity of perspectives, a diversity of terminology, a diversity of intent, that's actually probably not a bad thing. But that also gets to the concept, of intentionality. I think that we actually have to be very clear about what our intentions are. What is the value we're trying to create, or the value that we're trying to share with one another? So those are my sentiments for today, Friday, May the 16th, 2008. And I'll come back tomorrow with further perspective. And I've actually asked some of the people here if they would be interested in providing their perspectives on some of these issues as well. So there may be some clips from other people in attendance, again following the Chatham House Rule and not quite revealing all of the details, but just some of their perspective. So cheers.